Hi everyone and welcome for another Apitherapy video. This time I will be telling you a few words about a study that we are actually participating in. It's a postdoctoral study conducted. It's actually made with different universities working together, and it's the main goal for the study is actually the survival, the nutritional potential for bumblebees. So it's a very strong environmentally oriented study. But meanwhile, in such studies, sometimes there are really interesting points concerning apitherapy. In that particular case, it's all about nutritional value of pollen and of different botanical origin of pollen, and this one is conducted here in Quebec. But that being said, the whole principle of the study is very simple. There are lots of monoculture developments in Canada. It's huge, but like worldwide, there are lots of them. And sometimes in those specific crops, monoculture crops, the crop itself takes a lot of room, and there's very often not much else than the crop itself. Specifically, if you think about canola fields and the prairies in central Canada, you have humongous canola crops, and what else is there, really? There's not much else. So nutritionally speaking, if canola pollen, for example, would have a certain lack of some vitamin or mineral or some amino acid of some sort, then there could be a problem for the bumblebees or natural or native pollinators to survive, because they really rely on pollen for their source of protein, vitamin, and minerals. It's really important for them. So the study is actually trying to find alternative or complemental pollen that would actually be able to complete the diet of those bumblebees when there are monocultures around. So basically, if we find those potential botanical origins with the proper pollen that would actually complete the diet that those bumblebees have on those monoculture crops, well, then would encourage farmers to actually grow those plants around those monoculture crops and actually have a more environmentally friendly ecosystem for them while we're practicing our monoculture farming. So of course, I'm always encouraging more than monoculture in terms of farming agriculture myself. Of course, permaculture is important and so on. But meanwhile, as monoculture is going, this is still a very interesting topic. So as we do that study, what is our part, like my part in that study, is to collect local pollen. And as soon as there is a potential for monoflora pollen, or I know that a specific plant could be interesting as a complement for that nutrition need, I will actually, as soon as my bees harvest the pollen, and I'm trying to bring bees at different places to make sure I have as much variety as possible, I gather that pollen, I identify it with my microscope. You've seen in the last video how, a little bit how I do that microscope pollen identification. So I just identify it, and then I bring the samples together and I send it to the universities, the postdoctorate conducting the study. So that's my role in it. But then what will be actually really exciting is that to do this, we have to study really well those different monofloral pollen. And as we study them, we get to understand what really is in those different types of pollen from different plant botanical origins. So that will actually lead us to know what pollen will be really high in what vitamins and what minerals and amino acid and so on. So that is really interesting to find out about all those details, because yes, it's important for the bumblebees, but if we use pollen for our own nutrition, it's the same thing. The pollen won't be different. It will bring the same things to us and our own nutrition. So that study seems very environmentally oriented when you look at it from a certain perspective. But if you just take a step back and you look at this, and then all those results become extremely interesting when you think about apitherapy, because that is actually showing us, we don't see it first, but if you think about it a little bit, it shows us that yes, pollen is actually a complete source of food, because bees really do rely on pollen for all their needs. And all that potential is there for the bees, but also for us. And you all know, because I explained it many times, that pollen, the pollen that is harvested and we get from the bees, when the bees did pick it up on the flowers, they didn't destroy any form of life. They actually propagated life because they pollinated those flowers while they were there. So they increase life instead of decreasing life. Not even a leaf is damaged, not even a petal, nothing is damaged. And they increase life because they pollinate, so there will be fruits and seeds and so on, thanks to their pollination action. So they increase life while not decreasing it at all. And so that pollen is one of the most unique source of food that have been created while increasing life, which usually it's always the opposite, right? We have to eat the form of life to sustain ourselves. Well, now it's different with the pollen. That pollen has been created while it was increasing life, creating more life, because thanks to pollination. Well, that's quite amazing. And now that study is just showing us that yes, pollen is complete, and if one type of pollen isn't complete, well, sure enough, there's another one that would actually complete it and make it totally viable and a total complete source of food so that life can thrive. This is just fascinating. That study is actually showing us how complete is bee pollen for nutrition. And for me, this is a major fact. It's just huge. So for the moment, we don't have any details to show, to present in terms of, oh yeah, we found that that specific pollen from that specific botanical origin contains all that is necessary for this, and this. We don't have that yet. That will come soon, but we don't have it yet. But it's actually being done right now through that study. So I'm really happy and glad to participate in such project, and my own environmental and scientific fiber is quite nourished by this. So I'm really happy to do that. And I hope that you get the idea that those environmental projects that are important, because bumblebees are important and native pollinators are really key in our whole ecosystem. And actually, if we can, tweak a little bit our monocultural way of doing farming right now and add those other botanical origins to create more sustainable ecosystems, that'd be great. But mainly for me, I hope you get that this is actually underlining the fact that that pollen is a complete source of food, and there's a great variety of pollen out there. And if you're not used to think about pollen, you think, oh, pollen is one thing. There's pollen, right? But no, there's, I don't know, like 50 different varieties of pollen. So different flavors, but not only the flavors, but the nutritional content in there is different as well. So you can actually combine pollen and get real complete diet, knowing scientifically, oh, I did get exactly that amount of this and this and this and this and this, because I'm feeding on those specific type of pollen. Anyway, this is just fascinating for me. I hope you enjoyed the video, and see you another time for another apitherapy video. By the way, there will be, I forgot, I'm putting the link of the study in the description of the video. So if you're more interested into knowing more details about the study, all the information will be there in the description of the video. Of course, this study is not over yet. It's still in process. It will be for a couple more years, but bear with us. yeah, the results will be coming soon. So thank you very much.